oatmeal. Nom nom. So much stuff on my face. Anyway, what's going on, guys? And welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to talk about how you can make your photos look a tiny bit more professional. Let's cut to the intro. Peanut butter and oatmeal. Oh, really chewy. Wash it down. Okay, so today we're going to talk about how to make your photos look a little bit more professional. This past weekend, I went out and did an official shoot. I have done some shoots in the past for a freeboard design down in San Francisco, and I guess I wouldn't count that necessarily as an official shoot because I didn't feel comfortable kind of directing and like having people model. Basically for that whole shoot, I kind of let them do what they wanted to do. I told them, hey, like this is a cool backdrop. Let's go here and just start moving around, start posing, doing whatever, hands up, whatever. I wasn't as engaging as I could have been. And for this past Saturday, I was a lot more engaging. I was able to kind of position the model where I thought the lighting was best or where I thought it could be a very creative photo. It felt a lot more professional. That's why I'm kind of saying my first official shoot. So I've taken a lot of photos for fun as a hobby and whatnot, but and I have gotten paid for photos as well before this shoot. But again, I didn't feel very professional myself, where I wasn't as engaging as I was this Saturday. This Saturday felt as though I was a photographer, which was awesome. As a new photographer, I cranked the aperture down all the way, almost every single time. So the shallow depth of field was always there. You had a really nice bokeh, but that's kind of like the sign of a new photographer, is somebody who's only shooting down at the lowest aperture possible. Something that I'm finding now that I've started to learn and have learned from other photographers is that you don't shoot that as a professional photographer. You don't always shoot at the lowest aperture because you're trying to like tell a story with the photo. You're trying to show something with the photo. Even if there's like a model in there, you want to show the background. Like if it's an interesting background, you want to be able to show the detail in the background. So to give an example here, why don't we look at this photo here. So the model's back is turned, she's in focus, she's centered in the frame, but at the same time you get a solid view of the background. Like you get a little bit of blur in the foreground, then the model, and then the background. It's not super crisp, but that was shot at an f8. So you're getting enough detail to register what the background looks like, what she's looking at. It's not 2.8 where that would be blurry and then she's just looking at blurriness, but you're able to be a part of the photo, like looking at what she's looking at, which is really cool. Let's see, I took a couple that were at a higher aperture. Okay, so this is another one where I wanted not only the model to pop, but I also wanted the leaves and everything to contrast her, because it was a rather dark setting. She was wearing a pink bikini, but I wanted to showcase the whole scene, not just her, and then everything else being pretty blurry. So this was shot at a 9, f9, which is good enough to be able to like see detail in the trees and the branches, see detail in the background. It still gives it depth because you can tell what's there. Like, okay, so it goes model, tree, bush thing and then in the back there's another aspen just kind of like popping out. It just adds a little bit more depth, adds a little bit more imagination and creativity. It allows the audience to be a part of the photo. Something like this where you want to focus on one area. The model's pushing branches out of the way, the light is hitting kind of her face and her hair really nice, so you want to focus on that. There's not really much else in the background that's super interesting. There's not a lot of color. There's only color kind of like where the sun is. So you want to go down to a 2.8. It was also a little darker, so I wanted to let more light in. So you go down to a 2.8. And then there are other instances where you shoot at a 5.6. The big tip here is if you have a model or if you are shooting a subject of some sort, go through a range of aperture. So start at your lowest, then work your way up to about like 10. You don't need to go through every single one, but like maybe go from like 1.8 or 2.8 to like 5.6, then to like 8, and then to 10. That will give you a range of your depth of field, and it will also give you options to choose from. Like, okay, well, you know, that scene was really cool, so I'm gonna go with the F10 because I want everything as crisp as possible. Or, you know, the background kind of was mediocre, doesn't need to be showcased. You could even go down to like the 5.6, so it's still somewhat in focus, not completely blurred out, but you still have a little bit of depth there. So like this photo here, it was shot at a 3.5, and I shot it on a 14 mil, my Rokinon 14 mil. And I shot it at that 3.5. I wanted to have a little bit of a background, having it contrast her bathing suit and stuff. And I think the 3.5 aperture just added a little bit more. So not everything was blurry up to the subject. And then you still have some clarity behind the subject, which was really nice too. It's not just like hyper bokeh. And then again here, shooting at like a 4.5 background, and the lighting was really cool. The lighting was hitting the brush and the foliage in the back really nice. So I don't want to have that disappear. I want a little bit of detail. I don't want it to be just like a soft mush of green. I want to have crisp lines there to kind of showcase like where she's at. Playing with aperture is extremely important, especially you want to make your photos look a little bit more professional. Here's another example of shooting at like a 5.6. A lot of stuff is pretty crisp, and this was shot 24 millimeter. You can still tell what's in the background, and it gives it enough bokeh to where the outline of her is crisp. The light was hitting her nice, so she had like kind of like this white halo around her whole body and her head, and the crispness of the background with a little bit of blur allowed it to really have her pop. But yeah, so that is my tip for those starting out in photography who want to make their photos look a little bit more professional. It's that simple understanding of what aperture does and when and where to use it. What I was saying, like going through the range of apertures, so like going down to your lowest, maybe a couple in the middle, and then 1 or 2 in the high end. It's good. It takes time, but it's definitely a good thing to start practicing. That way, you know, when you do have like a paid shoot, you know, like, okay, well, this background, like this. Subject is here, lighting is there, 5.6, gonna use that. Or in like the middle range, you know that you're gonna shoot middle range, have everything set really fast. Or you're in a mountainous area and the background's beautiful and you're kind of farther away, getting a wide angle with the subject and you want the feeling to be nice and small, shoot at like an f11, f16, just so that you can see like everything. Or if you're, you know, somewhere where the subject is like the main focus, that's it, that's all you want to have focused on. The background's kind of meh, you don't really need to see the background as much. 2.8, 3.5, something around there, 1.8. It takes understanding and just going out and shooting random stuff. So even if like you're out there shooting a coffee, just a coffee, you know, take one with at the lowest aperture and then take one with the highest and see the difference. But yeah, that's my suggestion on how to make your photos look a little bit more professional. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.